Hi folks, and welcome to this short video on share dividends. I'm going to present an example here, and we'll walk through the solution together. The example here shows that Jamestown Corporation's balance sheet at February the 1st, 2011 shows common shares, and you'll see here that the common shares, there's 375,000 shares authorized and 150,000 shares are issued and outstanding. The total amount of money that the common shareholders gave to get those 150,000 shares were $1,102,500, and retained earnings on February the 1st are sitting at $633,000. Now on March the 1st, Jamestown declared a 10% share dividend. They're going to issue the dividend on April the 1st, and the market value on the date of declaration, that's March the 1st, is $25 a share. So our job is to make the journal entry to record the share dividend that was declared on March the 1st. Then, in Part B, to make the journal entry to issue the share dividend on April the 1st, and then after the share dividend is issued, let's prepare the equity section of the balance sheet on April the 1st. So let's have a look at the first one, and let's see if we can make the journal entry to record the share dividend on March the 1st. And again, bear in mind that the shares will not be issued until April the 1st. So if we have a look at our journal entry, we're going to debit on March the 1st our share dividend account, and we're going to credit an account called Common Share Dividends Distributable. This is an equity account, and we use this account because we've declared the dividends, but we have not yet issued them. So we are going to distribute them, or they become distributable at a later date. In our case, that later date is April the 1st. So now how did we get the value of $375,000? Well, first of all, we know it's a 10% share dividend, and we only have 150,000 shares issued. So if you go back to the question, we take the 150,000 shares that are issued and outstanding, all right, and then what we're going to do is multiply it by 10%, the amount of the share dividend, and that means there's going to be 15,000 new shares issued. The value of those shares would be the $25 market price on the date of declaration, which is March the 1st, and that'll give us our $375,000 to value that share dividend. Now, the question says in Part B to make the journal entry on April the 1st to issue the share dividend. So now on this date, we are actually going to issue the shares to shareholders. So what we'll do, we'll just pull down our little box here, and what we'll do is we'll show the journal entry on April the 1st, which is going to debit common share dividends distributable. So in other words, we don't need to keep the distributable account. We're going to debit it because we are going to credit common shares for $375,000. We credit the $375,000 to common shares because now we are issuing the shares. Now, if we go back to our question, Part C says to prepare the equity section of the balance sheet on April 1st after the share dividend is issued. So you'll notice here, we initially had 150,000 shares issued and outstanding and retained earnings at $633,000. Well, this number is going to change. How so? Well, if we have a look at our equity section, if we could just pull this down here. Okay, what we see here in Part C is that we've got the name of the company, the fact that we have a partial balance sheet, and it's on April the 1st. And we have our contributed capital with our common shares. 375,000 shares were authorized, but now you'll see we have 165,000 shares. How did we get 165,000? Well, we had the original 150,000 that we started off with on February the 1st, and then when we declared our 10% share dividend on the 150,000, you might recall that we had up here 15,000 new shares. So we're going to add that 15,000 to the 150,000 to find that we have 165,000 common shares issued and outstanding. Now we've got a new value. It's no longer 1,102,500. It's gone up from that by the dollar value of the shares we've issued at the $25 per share market value price. So we take that $375,000, add it to the $1,102,500 that we began with, so we now have total common shareholder equity of $1,477,500. So now, how do we get retained earnings at $258,000? You'll recall from the example we had it at $633,000 on February the 1st. So let's have a look at that. Well, don't forget, share dividends, along with cash dividends, any kind of dividend is closed out to retained earnings. So the declaration of a dividend reduces retained earnings. Our retained earnings initially sat at $633,000. We can see that in the original question. However, when we declared the share dividend for $375,000, that will reduce retained earnings because don't forget, any dividend account, whether it's cash dividend or share dividend, is closed to retained earnings, and that will reduce it. So when we deduct the $375,000 from the $633,000, we're left with $258,000 in our retained earnings account, leaving us with total shareholders' equity of $1,735,500. This concludes our presentation on share dividends.